Hello, welcome back. Today we're talking about how to paint busy scenes without getting stuck. Now, if you remember, we started this scene a couple weeks ago and we got the background done. And there is a lot going on here. Now, this is an image that I took at Acadia National Park, which is located in the state of Maine here in the United States. And there's a lot going on here, right? So we started to talk about how can you simplify a scene when whether you're there in person or if you're looking at a reference photo. So if this is the reference photo I'm looking at, we have to tell ourselves it is okay not to paint everything we see, right? We don't have to include every single bit of this. Now, I'm going to take away this image for a moment. And here's where we left off. So we have not included everything that was in that background, a lot of the stuff, but we've kind of simplified things a little bit. Now, this guy I think is in a lot more detail than maybe even we needed, but it is what it is. That's how he ended up last time. It's very easy to fall back into that, like I've got to put all the details in. We have to remind ourselves it's okay to just represent the scene and not put every single thing. It doesn't need to be photorealistic. It can be photo similar, and that's okay. Again, today I'm going to be using these brushes by Golden Maple Brush Company, and they call them a needlepoint brush. That's what they call it. You may have heard these called reservoir brushes before. Um, I'm loving them so far. You guys have seen me use them a couple times, and so far I'm loving them. Now, it comes with the size 4, 8, 12, and I didn't pull it out, but look at this one, an 18. She's huge. If you were doing a large painting and you were doing like rigging on ships, sailboats, things like that, lots of straight lines, trees. Remember, I used them in the trees when we started this project last time. These hold so much paint and they just keep feeding it and keep feeding it and keep feeding it. I have to keep telling you guys when I'm live and I'm using these brushes because out of habit I will go to reload my brush, but I don't really need to reload my brush. I'm just doing it out of habit. Like that thing will just keep going. And the first part of this painting, I actually showed you at the beginning of that, so I'm not going to do it again. How far we could go with this one of these brushes and not need to reload with paint. So if you're interested in that, just check out the first part of um, this painting. Again, it was a stream from actually I think it's been 3 weeks ago now because I had to skip a week, and then last week, of course, last week we did our June calendar painting. If you were here, you remember we did this one. I'm loving this. I think so far this is one of my favorites. This has turned out to be one of my favorites. I am loving seeing this when I come into the studio. So that was last week's stream. If you miss it, you can check out the replay. All right. The folks at Golden Maple have given us a 20% discount, and the code is Clark20. There is a link in the description below that'll take you right to them. And if you've been wanting to try one of these types of brushes, or if you want a rigger brush that will really hold its point and has plenty of snap to it, look at that. Definitely recommend these. The other thing that I absolutely love about them is the way they have designed this brush. I've shown you guys when I load this and it is wet, and you'll see me tap it on my palette and just kind of watch for it because we're going to use them during the stream today. I'll kind of tap it just to get a little excess water out. And when I come into the painting, it does not flood the painting with paint. Like there's been a number of times that I've taken a brush, like this is my 4 long round, and you guys will see me grab a piece of tissue and do this to absorb some of the water out of the belly of my brush because it just got too much and it will flood. It will drop all of that pigment and water right into my painting, and then I'll end up with a bloom, or I won't get a nice tiny line that I want. And I find that even some of my rigger brushes will do the same thing. They will just release so much paint at once that it's not exactly ideal. These just do not do that. They are quickly becoming my go-to for when I need some nice thin line work done. And these are a little, it's tipped. It's just the way it dried. It's just the way it dried. I think there was something else touching it. And like I said, these, they have got amazing snap. So yeah, again, there is a discount code linked in the description below. Or there, the discount code is Clark20. Get you 20% off of these brushes, and there is a link to them in the description below. So definitely a recommend if you are interested in something like that. Let's talk about where we're going with this today so we can get right to it, because how do we paint busy scenes without getting stuck? When we look at this, it's like, okay, where do I go from here? What the heck is next? And, last time we were talking about how to kind of reduce what we're seeing. And of course, this was the one that I chose to work from. And if you remember, I showed you, I take multiple pictures of a scene that I want to paint, and I did a close-up. So here I have some close-up details I can look at for when I'm doing the foreground if I want to see anything a little better. Here, there's a scene. Remember, I was going to start. It has like that rock that's in there. We've got that here. I folded this page so I would know like about where everything should be. And then I thought, this isn't quite what I wanted. And we'll go over to the one that I did choose. But I kind of like the way the top of this is. The angle looking up at the sky. So, and here was just another view where we kind of didn't have as much with our on our bridge. It didn't extend as far. If you see this one, remember it extends right there. The tree is there and the whole bridge extends over. We see the tree, we see the roots, but we're not going to have this big tree in our painting because it wasn't like, I loved the branches at the top because they were kind of gnarly and I like that, but I didn't like this. I felt like it would detract from the painting. So we just omit that, right? We have the artistic license. We can just omit it. And that's what we did. So here's the one I used again to transfer. So let's talk about that. These are about the same angle. Okay. This is just zoomed in more. And so let me get that one out of the way. And again, this is the one we transfer, so I'm not going to set it down on here. But I did kind of fold my page so that I would remember, like I can see here was my corner. If I needed to match that up to put anything else down. And remember, I just got water on that. This was that Derwent extra large graphite block. This guy. This should be linked below. I use this all the time for transferring stuff from a reference because it's water soluble. So I'm not worried about these lines, and it lifts with a kneaded eraser. Like you can lift that back to clean paper without a problem. So I absolutely love that stuff. I love using that for my transfers. Okay. So now the way we did this being the corner, we cut off this part. And because see how the tree was coming in here? We don't want that. It's going to detract. And so we did like this, right? This is the painting we are working on. So you see here, right? Here's all of our elements that are in this. I don't like the way, I like this branch, but I don't like the way it cuts into with the top of the trees here. I'm just not a huge fan of that. If I choose to include it, I'm going to do it more like this angle. Even though the bottom of this was this, if there's time today and I want to paint those branches in, I'm going to do it like this. So I have this lined up so that it's about the same Everything that's on here is in about the same place. Wait a minute. That would be there. Okay. So see where these would come over. That is right on top of these trees, the same way it is in this one. I don't want it like that. I think if I want them on there, I want them to take up some of this space. But they might look weird, just floating in from the sides. We do see tree roots down there, but we're not going to see as many because we just have this little tiny piece of the banking. So most likely that it's busy and we're just not going to paint that part. You could if you wanted to, but that is a good thing to choose to omit. So when stuff is really busy, maybe we take out some of those kind of pieces and we simplify it, right? We just simplified these trees in the distance. We didn't put in a lot of this, like the detail we can see. Yeah, we can see through them. Not worried about it. That's fine. As we come down here, I do want to get some of the, I have to get these in. Remember I talked to you last week, or excuse me, last time, that if I needed to, I was going to bring in gouache. Like as I put these trees over this area, if I need to get some of the brighter greens that are in here, I'm going to use gouache. I have, and it is linked below, my Daniel Smith gouache. That palette is right here. I've already given it a mist in here to kind of wake those up. So if I reach for gouache, that's what it's going to be. Okay, so how do we work this without getting stuck? Like, where do we begin? First off, you see all of our little highlights. We have some highlights in the water. And let's look at, let me get the one. There we go. This is the one we're working with because we just have this little bit here. Let me fold it over. I know I'm going to stick my hands in that graphite. Just folding it where the edge of my block of paper about, right? Nope, almost. Hopefully that storm, it looks like the sun's coming out. So hopefully the storm, we were getting a bad thunderstorm. I was afraid I wasn't going to be able to stream because it was really kicking up. And I have about there. So let me just fold this up. Okay, there's where we're at. All right, so this is the bottom of my scene. That's what I'm working on today. And remember, I extended it out a little bit, and I'm able to do that because I did take the extra pictures of the scene. See here, we just see the two little trees. And in here, like we see there are actually some more little trees here. It goes over further. So by taking multiple images when you're on site, it really helps you kind of fill in the spaces as you decide what you want to paint. All right. And what I think I'm going to do, where we have our blue through here, I think I might take a little bit of masking and just mask off a little bit of that because we're going to want to preserve that as the light part of our water and it's reflecting the sky. And that's why we painted it there in the first place. So to start, I'm going to add some masking. I'm going to be using my PBO drawing gum. I've shared this with you many times. If you have been watching for any length of time here on the channel, I put little glass beads in my bottle of masking just to help take up some of that airspace because I bought such a big bottle. And it really helps keep my masking from drying out inside there. So I'm going to add a little bit for just some spots here on the water. I'm not going to be as specific. Like it doesn't have to be exactly every single space this is, but it will be in this area. Then I'm going to paint in my rocks. We have our rocks outlined. We'll put some of those in. Our darkest dark is going to be up here underneath our bridge. So that's going to go pretty quick. And again, I might need gouache because over that really dark, if I want to paint all of that in first and not have to paint around these trees, then I'm going to have to use gouache for that. Or I choose to omit them. and that is an option. You can choose if you don't want to have to do all this, go prune them out. I don't know how the national park will feel about that. Don't do that on site. Just choose not to paint them. You just prune them out of your painting. All right, so I'm going to grab a silicone tool. That is what I prefer to use with my masking fluid. I did not link these below because I was forgetting that I was going to use some masking. So I'm just going to set this where I can see it so I have a guide. Okay. And I'm just going to, just through this area, we're just going to put some spots. And now it's going, I'm going to follow, see how they're following like these horizontal like lines. So the river is moving this way. So I'm just going to make sure that I'm following along with that because that is going to help. It's going to help put movement in our water. And these are going to go all the way back to, I'm looking at my rocks that I have here, actually all the way back to about here. So just so I have a frame of reference there. Picking some of that back up. Put a lot down right there. Trying not to make every mark the same. Do you have a favorite tool that you use for masking? Do you just have an old brush that you use? Drop a comment and let us know. I'm always interested in what people use to apply masking with. I have seen so many different things that people use. We're going to want that to be dry before we paint over it. And that's fine because we will have time when we paint our rocks. Just going to put a couple little spots over here and there, like where our rocks are as well. Just kind of dabbing off whatever's left on my little tool here. And you'll be able to feel it. When you run your fingers over the surface afterwards, you can feel everywhere that masking ended up. And if there's anything that we don't like afterwards, there are easy ways to fix it, change it, just paint over it. Okay, so that's going to be some of our highlights in our water. And I think I made some of them that would connect, like touch with each other. All right, because it's rippling water. It wasn't flowing super fast, but it was moving. I mean, we were there and it's spring, and as the snow all melts, everything trickles down to the lakes and the rivers and the streams. And they tend to rise. All right, I think that's going to be fine. Crafty cat, thank you. this is part two. We did the background in a previous live stream. So we're just working on our foreground today. All right. So that has to dry. But yeah, whether you're here live or watching on a replay, drop me a comment. What is your favorite tool for applying masking fluid? I like the silicone tools, and I also like to use like the dotting tools. I will use both of those. All right. So I'm using the Shinhan PWC watercolors again because that's what we started this painting with. But again, I have, if I go to gouache, I have my Daniel Smith gouache. That's what I'm going to be using. Hello to everybody who has joined and dropped in the comments. Cadmium Raphael Kitten, George Pencil Art, Art of Joseph Fincham, and Tara Giblin are our moderators here on the channel. If you haven't checked out their channels before, they are linked in the description below. I definitely invite you to check them out. Hi, Virginia. And I think I got everybody who said hello, and of course, Crafty Cat. All right. So we are going to work with, so working on this water, there's like so much going on there, right? To start with, if we look at the image, and this one, that might be a little more difficult. So there's a big look at it. But you see how you can see, like the waters here in Maine, so many of them are just like crystal clear. You see all those rocks, we can see the lighter browns, and we're seeing darker around it. So we're going to focus on painting in some of those lighter colors first. And let me see. I think it is, yeah, there's a scene we're actually painting with, again, the right side. That right side is missing, and we've kind of tightened up on our image there. So you can see how we can see through that water and see those rocks. So we definitely, with having some of this blue show up, I think that's going to help us realize, hey, it's water. We're seeing under the water. All right. So now this feels, parts with the rocks feel plenty dry enough to just paint over. I'm trying to remember the colors we used last time, but I can see a little bit of what's been mixed in. So my burnt sienna, which for the Shinhan is a PR 101. This guy here. And I really need that to be more grayed down. So we are going to grab, and I think I used cobalt blue in my sky, if I'm not mistaken. Probably a little bit of ultramarine in here too somewhere. Seeing a little bit more warmth here. It's been a little while. It's the one thing about having to come back to it. So I'm just going to grab some of this ultramarine blue, PB29. And I am working on a Meaden palette. The folks at Meaden also have given us a discount. And the code is Clark10, CLARK10. And there is a link in the description to Meaden if you are interested in something like this palette. There we go. Hello, Rob. Look at that, Rob, celebrating 20 months as a member here on the channel. Thank you so much, Rob. Membership has its perks. If you guys are not familiar, if you're new to the channel, we do have memberships both on Patreon and here on YouTube. You do not need to join both. But the Superfan membership here on YouTube gets you access to the Discord server. And that is less than $3 a month. And we have some fun over on Discord. You get to share projects you're working on. stuff like that. I love to see what you guys are doing. If you do a project like what we're painting today, you paint with me, you can share it over there. So I'm just going to paint in some stones here. Okay, we're just going to get this in light. I'm going to have to go around these. I should just paint the whole area is what I should do. Let me see. That should work. I could always put my rocks back in, or you know what? I just kind of make them up as I go along. So thank you very much, Rob. And there are many tiers to choose from. Again, both here on YouTube or over on Patreon. Aside from the Superfan membership, that is exclusive to YouTube. The other tiers you can get at either location. And they each hold different benefits and open up more channels on the Discord server with each tier, as well as other benefits. Now, I'm just going to go right over. I can see those marks now. I'm just wetting this because we're going to have to paint the whole river with this color. So why not just get it in there? And this is where our shoreline is. I just grabbed a brush that was sitting beside me. This is a Zen by Royal and Langnickel. Just happened to be sitting off on the side. Okay, so let's get this in. I must have touched some. I touched the ultramarine blue. There we go. See, we're seeing our masking fluid now. This gets darker as we go back. And our rock here is a lighter color. I'm going to kind of paint around that. You've been missed, Rob. You've been missed. We're looking forward to you being able to be back on a more regular basis here. So again, I'm just using burnt sienna and my ultramarine blue. And this rock, I think, is a little out of the water. So I want to just kind of dab that out. There we go. Back into here, it gets dark. Again, this is a rock that's above the water. So we're going to just dab up a little bit there, a little bit there. Okay. All right. And I think I had paint on my other brush. I think I was using my 6 round. I just grabbed my 10. Is there? No, there's no paint in that. But I do need it to be darker. Right, just building up our values here. It gets a little darker. It's going to get really dark around our rocks. And that's one that's sticking up out of the water. This is like an old stump. Right in here. There's like an old stump. I'm just going to soften this edge just so it doesn't give me any issues later as it works up onto that bank. Yeah, right here is a broken off old stump. It actually gets really dark behind that rock. I have a collaboration coming up. I have to finish the filming for that, but I am doing a collaboration with Shanna, who is Caution Artist at Play, and Karen Clark from Karen Clark Creations. No, we are not related. We're just good friends. And Lindsay, of course, the Frugal Crafter here on YouTube. We're doing a collaboration. If you are interested in the newest Holbein granulating colors, they just released 4 new sets, and we have each taken a set, and that's going to be released on all of our channels a week from Sunday, so Father's Day Sunday. So you will have 4 new videos to watch to check out paintings with each of the 4 sets. I'm not going to tell you which set I have. I'm not going to spoil it. But there is that's coming. So I am really looking forward to that. All right, I need to let this dry a little bit because I just want to put a little bit more. It's not quite the color I want. Dum, dum, dum. Daniel Smith has the buff titanium in the gouache, and I could use my gouache. Okay, I literally just had it. Here it is. But I'm going to grab my pan of watercolor. So this is Daniel Smith's buff titanium because I don't have that in the Shin hand. I wish they did. I love this color. Just because I need the color I want for through some of these rocks. It's just not it. Just not it. Rob says, I know you've been missing my question of the day in Discord. Yes, we have. I have been. Rob would often post a question of the day. And of course, it would be like art related. And it's always fun to see what everybody says. Just glazing a little bit warmer in here. I want my rocks to kind of stand out when I darken up around them. So I'm just adding some of this color where my rocks are going to be. You'll see they're gonna start to take shape and pop out of this space here just a little bit. We have to let this dry though. Just softening this edge. I don't want any hard edges yet. We are going to make some hard edges because, there's rocks in there. Right now we're just getting some rock color. Academy Red Feral Kitten says, yours will be the trees set, no doubt. There is a landscape set. There is a landscape set. That's all I'm going to say. You guys are going to have to tune into those. It's a lot of fun. I've had so much going on. The girls are waiting on me to get mine finished. Just bringing some darker values in here as I let this part needs to dry. And actually, speaking of darker values, why don't we get our dark value under our bridge? I'm trying to decide, do I want to paint in some of these trees and then kind of try to paint around them? Maybe. I think I want to include a couple. Have a great rest of your day, Rob. Okay, I think let's see, we have this one. Okay, so if we look at those trees right there, I think I want to include a couple. I don't necessarily need to include them all. It doesn't have to be perfect, like, but I want to include some. I'm just taking whatever this green was. This palette was from when we worked on this last. So this was like stuff we did over here. And it reaches up to our, right up here to where our stone wall is. If this is damp, it doesn't feel too damp, but if it was, it would be fine. This is just some of the lighter values. It's getting like where the top of these little like saplings would be. Again, I'm just pulling colors that we used in the background here. Just giving myself some guidelines. And that, I think, is going to be the extent of how many I put in there. Is it the same? No, but it's going to be fine. And when we get down into like this part here, as it gets lower, we can't even really distinguish as much one from another. This painting's not large enough for that. And we definitely get darker. So things come down. And I gotta say, I have been wanting to explore. There is it's very different from this. This is much more realistic, and there's like a style. I want to say I guess a style, um, and some techniques that I really want to explore. And I'm thinking about doing some and recording it and maybe releasing them as like shorts just to kind of test the waters and see like, hey, is this something that you guys would be interested in actually watching me do like in like a full video? So I'm hoping that pretty soon I will be able to record and put some of those out. Um, I'm not saving as much of the light color as I wanted to, but you know what we say here? It's fine. It is fine. Don't over stress with it. So yeah, I'm hoping that you guys are going to like what I'm going to be doing. Um, it's very different from, I mean, you've seen me do something kind of similar. I guess you're just gonna have to wait and see. I can't even like describe it. My words are not coming out. So anyhow, that's gonna be coming. Like I said, I think I am going to test it out on shorts. Maybe throw some up on Instagram. That might be a thing. I don't post a lot of reels on Instagram, but maybe I will also share on Instagram. So I wouldn't normally work this far in the foreground like right away, but I decided I wanted to put those in and paint around in these areas as I do the dark. So I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna come back over here to my rocks and we're gonna work with some really dark, I want like sepia or umber. That's a Van Dyke brown. Here 101 PBK 11. So that's going to be a sepia color. Let's see how that. Oh yeah, that is nice and dark. We're going to use that right there. So it's PBK 11 and PR 101. I am fine with that. But you know what? We're going to mix up some of that color over here. So anyway, still watercolor that I'm wanting to do, but versus just I just want to explore my art more. And that's something that I've wanted to do. So I'm going to do it, but I'm going to test it out in, I think, some shorts or like some pre-recorded videos maybe and put that up that are more like sped up, not a slow drawn out version. Um, oh yeah. So the set Cadmium Red Trail Kitten says for Australia, um, a set of the 24 granulating Holbein watercolors, the new ones, is wow, 287 Australian dollars right now. Um versus 187 here in the US. Yeah, I just have one set because they released them in like four individual sets as well. And I just have one of the well, I have all the sets, but I'm going to be using one of them for each one of us is doing a different one for the collaboration. And of course, when we do that, everybody's channels will be linked so that you can or their videos so that you can check them out and go explore and see what everybody's doing. All right, so now we have got to, and of course, it's hard for me to see like where were those. I'm going to give this a, I don't want to dry it with the hair dryer or the heat tool because I have masking on it. I was going to go back over it and re-put my rocks in there, but you know what? It's fine. We're just gonna go for it. It doesn't matter. They're rocks, right? They're rocks. So we're just going to start shaping out some rocks. See how this goes. Just make them different sizes. Some small rocks, some bigger rocks. I think that this size 4 has become my new favorite like details brush. I'm just trying to make sure that I keep making different shapes. And this really dark sepia is going to be my dark that I will extend like over here. This is really dark along the bottom of that rock. And up into there. I'm not going to be afraid if this skips around like over some of these areas either because rocks are textured. So they're not all going to be perfectly. I mean, they're just kind of smooth. They've been in the river, but they're not all one flat color. Again, I'm going to reload, but you see, I can keep going. I don't need to reload yet. This actually gets quite dark up there, under here. I'm even seeing a little bit of green, I think, in this area, which we would if we, especially if we have some reflection, some color coming from our trees. So I may glaze in a little bit of green in that area as well. Yeah, I think Holbein can be a bit pricey depending on where you are. But I cannot wait to share with you my part of that collaboration. So that I did all of that, and I'm just now going to reload. It's mostly because my brush um, is drying out, not because not there's still pigment there, but things just dry so fast here in the studio. I just want to re-wet that, grab some more. On this side too, we're gonna have some dark areas. Right? We're gonna have like little pebbly. that is, there's some light areas with the sand. I probably should have put it more over here, but it's fine. Again, photo similar, not photorealistic. I'm not going to stress over it. You're going to look at my painting and you're going to look at that reference photo if I show it to you and go, okay, yeah, I can see that you painted that from that. Right? Or if you've been there, you're going to say, oh, yeah, I know where that is. So here, remember when I take the masking off, these are ripples in the water. So I'm going to come in along um, the bottom side, right, or this side of some of these, and just put in a little bit of shadow underneath that, just to also help relay that it's movement. It's water. And all I'm doing is just painting right along the edge of that masking, being sure that I'm getting my paint on some of the paper. You definitely have some of the lighter color. Some of this lighter color needs to come through still because we can see the sand in the bottom of this little riverbed. The water's so clear. And Jordan Pond is actually like a water supply, and it is just crystal clear. Just gonna keep making outlines of rocks. Just kind of bouncing it around. Not necessarily worried about rock shapes here as much as I am making sure it looks like I have some a different texture. And that was my sepia. Definitely want to amp up my contrast. It's going to really help this look like looking through the water. Yeah, cadmium red feral kittens trying to figure out how can she get these from Japan. The not these, the Holbein watercolors that I was talking about, the granulating colors. I know people have covered them, have covered the different sets because they've been out for a little while now. In fact, Shannon Rowe Jackson, who is Caution Artist at Play, she's a brand ambassador for Holbein. So that is how I ended up with them. They sent them, uh, graciously sent them to her, and she shared them with permission with us, and we decided to do the collaboration. That's probably going to be a rock that's actually sticking up out of the water. And so I'm thrilled to be able to test them out. Yeah, that'll be coming in 2 weeks, but it won't be a live stream. It will be a regular video that's released on the channel. I think I should have had more like reflection up in here. So don't drop your brush on your painting. Just lift that back out. So yeah, afterwards I can always add that over there. I would just tint my white with the same color I put in the sky. It would be fine. It would be fine. There we go. All right, I want to darken up some of those marks. See that? We've spent so much time just in our little rocks. I think this will paint up quickly. And hopefully we're going to have our tree that comes up like this. I'm going to go ahead and just put this in with my dark because again, I said I may pop that in with gouache. But that's where that tree is it's gonna live right about there. And there's another one. And by doing it this way, I'll actually have because I'm going to paint it in gouache, I'll have my trunk in, and then I can kind of paint around it. And we'll still see, we'll still see the trunk through it, which is exactly how the actual tree looked. And there's some other ones back here. Some like little saplings. And because I went further, I'm going to pop one kind of to block in this edge and send you back towards the bridge. But guess what? It lives right up in here now. right about there. Some small stuff here. Right, it's really dark in this area, so I'm probably going to paint it really dark, and then again, because I'm going to come back over top of it with gouache. It's just going to be my guide. A lot of this has to get much darker, like all through here. This is an old tree stump. I'm going to grab some of my buff titanium. Right, we're just going to paint in the highlights on this old stump. Let that dry. She's old. It's old and decaying. And it's actually probably warmer than it needs to be, but again, it's fine. A lot of this area might need to get, some of this might need to get darker. We'll see. All right. I need to do darks on my bridge too. And I could use that same sepia color. Maybe add in a little bit of ultramarine blue to cool it down. But we're gonna put some more line work on that as well. Let's get this dark in. So I'm going to grab my ultramarine blue. Yeah, it is about as dark as the dark marks I see on that bridge. And I'm grabbing my sepia. There we go. Nice, rich, dark. I could use black, but you know what? With and if you like to use black in watercolor, by all means, if you were painting something like this, paint it black. It's fine. I'm just going to stick with the sepia and the ultramarine. Of course, the sepia has black in it, but I am going to stick with this because I think it's going to be a little bit more cohesive with the rest of my painting. This whole area, all the way down, right? It comes down, comes over here, going that way. It's going to be that really dark. All back here. Everything behind this rock is really dark. I'm painting wet on dry right now. See, this is where it's going to get tricky, like painting around the evergreen. And that's why I said I wasn't sure if I wanted to paint that in first. But honestly, again, it's fine. When I bring in the gouache for the other trees, if I need to, I can fix them as well. Coming back to my ultramarine blue. There we go. Nice, rich, dark. I will use this same mix to do the line work and put the shadows in my stone wall. If for whatever reason I don't finish this today, I will finish it camera. I'm not going to go into a third painting session. I just don't feel, I mean, you could work on a painting for hours and hours on end, but I don't think that's what I want to put out. I will share it with you when it's done, should I not finish it today. My goal is going to be to finish it, but since we are an hour in, we will see how it develops. Sometimes it develops quickly, and you think, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get finished with this, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm almost done. Okay, that doesn't often happen here, but oh, already, look at, we're starting to get some depth there. Dropping some of it in and around these areas. I don't worry if I get some like the highlights remain. It's fine. It's not a problem. Just looking like my bank is all the way down here, right? Like all of this all the way down is river. So I'm going to see some of this really dark all the way through here. And really, I just need to dab it in here and there, sort of negatively painting around some of this greenery here. Like my banking is here, so it's all in there. It gets dark. Starting to darken up again outside. I don't think the rain, Lou was saying it shouldn't be back as far as storms go until like almost 6. So it's like as long as that one when I was starting didn't get too close, because I don't like having my Mac plugged in when there's really bad thunderstorms going on around me. Even though it's on surge protection and whatnot, it's just a little too expensive. Should I have to replace it because of, lightning or a power surge or, yeah. I was getting ready to come upstairs and all of a sudden I just heard this big rumble. And I was like, oh no. There we go. See how it's starting to take shape? And I'm just dabbing it in. And if you can't see that, like this used to be a very hard thing for me, like, and it still is. I still work on like negative painting techniques, right? Where we're painting in the spaces to leave the object sitting there. And yeah, a lot of time I find I just overthink it. Like I completely overthink it. Just dabbing it in, and sometimes I have to, like, I will look up at my monitor to see what you guys are seeing. And that will help me sometimes with like where to put more color or where not to. Oh my goodness. I hear you there, Cadmium Red Kitten, talking about like cold weather and just wanting to stay inside because again, she's in Australia, so our summer, she's in winter. And this all of our friends in the southern hemisphere. And in winter time here, I am happy to just sit inside and watch the snowfall. Now, see, if I didn't paint this in and I was just going to bring gouache on top of it, that probably would have been a lot faster. But again, that is what it is. So all in about this area, then down and through here is a little darker, closer to the bank. But about here is where that shadowing from my bridge stops. So I want to go like about here. I have an order from Blick. I still haven't used up the gift cards that I got for like my birthday and Christmas last year. I still haven't placed that order. I was trying to decide. I wanted to make good use of them. And of course, this is not going to be just a straight line, right? This kind of, let's meander this around. Just going to work out the paint that's on my brush. It's starting to lighten up there, so just keep on with that. Lots of goodies in the old Blick cart right now. I'm just very anxious to actually check out and get them. I just decided when I got them, I was like, there's nothing I really needed at the time. And I thought, if I save those gift cards, it'd probably come in handy as the year went on to get things that I wanted to get to show you guys and stuff like that. Much lighter. I've used up a lot of the pigment that was in my brush. Again, kind of painting around, right? Like we've got our stuff growing up there. We're looking through at the river. Because the bank was here and it kind of dropped down a little bit. It wasn't like a even walk into the water. It dropped down. Make sure I don't have too much. I'm going to work it this way now. The darks. And sepia. Ultramarine blue. All right, this is going to be, we're going to come at this with gouache. So I'm just going to put in darker. This is where the bank is, right? So it comes up. all the way. Again, I'm going to do some negative painting around my little stump here. I guess that was my 6. I don't have my 8 out, so I'm just going to grab my 10 and make this part go faster. This is all part of the stone wall. So the stone wall comes down like this, right? It sits. This is a post that comes up at the end of it. But there's a lot we don't see because the trees are going to be covering it. Ooh, we just started pouring again. All right, hopefully we don't have any issues. Just going to end up blending that out as it goes up. It is pouring. And this, especially if it's shadow, I don't want a hard line. Okay, so we're just going to kind of knock that back a little bit. There we go. Good enough. That was just a damp brush. Yeah, I dry it off because I don't want to flood my area with water and cause a bloom. I just want enough to soften the edge. There we go. Bring some more. That dark in here. Again, I'm going to let that blend, soften that edge. So just clean brush, wipe that off. Just come back and touch. Okay, touch my edge there. I can even bring some of this up this way. It's going to be shadowed. It's going to be actually be a little darker back here. I don't have enough darks back there underneath where those trees are. And those trees kind of cast a shadow on. This is like a path, and this stone is definitely, the path is different. Path comes around, goes back that way, comes over the bridge. Drop a little bit more of the dark in there. Just gonna actually bring it right out. Disappear right behind that tree. Okay. That needs to dry before we can put these in. So while that's working, I'm going to come back over here, and you know what? I'm going to do a little bit, because I'm going to use this same sepia and ultramarine blue to make my dark. There we go. And it's leaning a little bit more towards blue this time, which is fine. And it's not a big deal. Oh, I have looked at the Magello Mission Gold, the tourmaline granulated colors. Yeah, I know. I don't. I'm like, no, no, I'm not doing it. All right, let me bring this back down. Now, let's see how quickly we can line some of this bridge here. So we definitely have some distinct shadows in here. This one comes over and down there. A lot of this you're not seeing like behind here because there's a lot of this growth is covering it. So I'm not even going to bother wasting time putting that in. The top of our stones. I'm not worried if my lines get slightly jagged or wonky. This is stone, right? It is not smooth. It is bumpy and textured. I can hear it rumbling out there. So am I going to worry like, oh, I didn't get every single one in here the way it was supposed to be or looks on the bridge? No, I'm not worried about that. I just want you to know, hey, guess what? There was a stone bridge here. That's what this is made out of. If I don't get every stone precisely correct, it does not matter. There's also a lot of dark right in through here. You notice I'm still working with this brush. Like I have not gone back to reload in a while. This is one of the reasons I love this brush. The point is so nice and pointy, right? It's got such great spring. Definitely recommend. You know, in case I haven't in case I haven't said it. Oh, I don't know, 20 times already. And we're just gonna keep on going. Oh, I meant to bring in, I found that piece of granite. I remember I was telling you guys about the granite um, from Cadillac Mountain, and I found the piece we brought back, a little tiny piece, and I meant to bring it in so you could see how orange pink this is. It's so neat because it was a volcano, and the granite just gorgeous color, gorgeous, gorgeous color. I wanted that to be all one part, but again, doesn't matter. Okay, I'm now my paint dried. My paint over here dried up while I was painting all of that. I did not run out of paint. Now, this is like fully loaded and again, like kind of tap off. But when I come over here to start again, perfect skinny little line. It does not flood paint into the space. That is one of the biggest reasons I am a fan of these brushes. Not to mention the snap is wonderful. Again, these are by Golden Maple. And there is a 20% off code in the description below with the link directly to these brushes. Code Clark20 will get you 20% off. Look at that. Now we're starting to get somewhere. Now we're cooking. Let's just fill in some marks on our stump and make this look like it's an old piece of wood. I'm just going to add some lines down here. And at the base, it's going to get quite dark. Quite dark. There's our little stump. And some of these rocks that are above water, we have to address those issues as well. This is not the brush for filling in a larger space. Now I did say I wanted to do a little bit of glazing with some green. It's darkening up a few spots here around the stones that are over here. Very dark along the bottom edge of this one. Okay. What do you guys think so far? We're starting to look like we are in a riverbed. I hope so. This might need to be a little bit darker. I really want the reflection to pop on top. I'm going to glaze that one more time. Get that a little bit darker. I think that value is still just a touch light. So I'm going to take this. I'm just going to glaze a little bit more in here. And I'll come back again and put some darker marks while I am at it. Right, I want that to look like, again, it's the river also. I don't want to mix with I want to mix with this brush. It's one thing if I was just dabbing the tip to grab a little bit, but not to mix it. I don't want to ruin it. Thanks, Crafty Cat. Okay, load that brush up. And we're going to come back to areas we need to darken. Just a little bit darker again, putting some shadow along the edge of where I'm going to remove that masking fluid. There we go. Again, see, I'm grabbing paint out of habit. With a normal brush, you're like stroke, 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 pick up paint. Yeah, you really don't need to. As you saw when I did the bridge. And actually I could have even spattered a little bit of darks on here to add more shadow because there's a lot more shadowing done in this. Will I come back to it? Again, I don't know about today. I may before I'm completely finished, and then I'll just post an image of everything once it's all like said and done. But yeah, look at that. That's really, I'm loving the way that the water's looking right there. All right, I mentioned about glazing in and bringing in like some, almost like a green. I want like a grayed out green. Let's grab, PY 129 is going to be too bright. All right, so this is PY 83 and PG 8. It's on the, what it's called is on the back side there, so I'm not quite sure. I'm going to grab a little bit of this and we're going to desaturate that. I want to glaze. I want it to be nice and thin. But I want to add a little bit of, pick up a little bit of green color. Yeah, there we go. I don't want it to be too heavy. Okay, just focusing on the surface of some of these rocks that are under the water. We starting to get that rock underwater effect going on there. Just cooled it off as I'm getting here to where my darker shadows are. So just cooled down that green a little bit that I'm using. I'm going to come right over this. touch more blue. I want to thin that down. A little bit more blue. Grab a touch of that cobalt that was in my sky. There we go. Now let's make water. I don't want to pull too many strokes because I don't want to make all that hard work disappear. I definitely want to get the feeling that we're looking through the water. So picking up some of that sky color to bring into this. Now we're looking through the water at our rocks. That feels much better to me. See, just a quick glaze. So if you're not familiar with glazing watercolor, just a very thin down, right? It's just going to add, again, that sky color into, it's there. We can see through it. And now I think that looks like rocks underwater. Okay, that's going to be gouache. So we're going to do that in a moment. I am going to paint this right through till I'm done. We are going to put these trees in with gouache. It's going to happen pretty quickly. Let's take a little bit of this and just see how this does to add in. I just want to add like some shadowing here and there on my stones. Just a little bit, but not as much as I want. Let's a little extra. Because like under here, like all under here, there's more shadow there. Right, let's get some more dimension on this bridge real quick. It's like these are capstones like on top. I mean, for lack of a better term for them. Like that's like the rail on top of the bridge. This set's kind of back a little bit behind that. And we want a little bit more texture on some of these. So let's just, these are big pieces of granite. They are not smooth. Very bumpy and textured. This bottom part is very much more the red, like the Cadillac Mountain granite. That was a little much. Right in through here, there's like lots of shadow, really dark that comes down. Like it's dark. This is dark. It's really dark in here. Get some more texture on these. Hi, Other Tara. Well, that's okay that you're popping in a little late. We're glad you're here. Gonna be too much water on my brush. I don't want to lose my lights. I have it's really easy to overdo and then lose all the light you tried so hard to keep in it. Just tapping to make sure I don't have too much. This here, I can put some of this in, but I want to grab, it's almost like a salmon-like color. Let's grab some of this. Because they're definitely warmer than the other ones up in here. Like, see how you can see that reddish values in this one. We can certainly see it in here as well. So bring a little bit more of that up in here. Because this is not a granite that is white and black and gray. It is unique. It is definitely unique to Cadillac Mountain. Like somewhere on my on our adventures there, I actually took a picture of the sign that talks about it. There we go. That's feeling a bit more realistic for our bridge. Does it feel like stone now? Or does it look like stone? There we go. Put a few more details up there. All right. This one's actually quite light in the image. I need a little bit more. I need more dark here if I'm going to be trying to stay like in line with how the bridge actually looked. All right, good enough. I think that is good enough. Let's work on these stones right here while we're mixing up all these colors. And we're going to just we're going to dabble some in, blot it off. Right, dabble some of these grays on, blot them off. I'm going to come back again. Like some of my burnt sienna. We'll just let that kind of spread and see how that looks. We can come back and touch it up. All I did was grabbed a little bit of my sepia because PR 101 and PBK 11 both granulate, right? So these are rocks. If that texture granulates a little bit, we are not going to worry about that. It's actually really quite dark. I think that looks a lot better. Again, these are going to be pieces of granite that's in this water, so all right, calling those good enough. Up here, this is like very much grassy. There are actually some roots that kind of pop in here from that tree that we saw coming up. But you know what? We want to simplify this. Let's not get stuck here too much. This is just a tiny little piece that we're not worried too much about. It needs to look like, all right, we're going to wet this area again. There's pine trees all around. Okay, so we're just going to put down, dropping in some burnt sienna here and there. And we're going to need, taking some buff titanium, which is very opaque. I am also going to drop some of that in. Remember, this is wet. Our buff titanium is going to be very much opaque. Now, there are sticks and twigs on the ground. I'm going to drop in some darker values here and there. Right? We're just like suggesting that the riverbank. We don't have to have all the details up here because our focus is here. Like our focus can't be everywhere. If all of this was in focus and highly detailed, then this wouldn't be in focus. But our focus is right here. Like our focal point is this bridge. So we don't want this to kind of draw our viewers' attention. So we don't want to get overwhelmed or get stuck on, I got to have every detail in this foreground. We don't. Right? Look at this is the beautiful detail in this painting. Right? There's like some things on the ground and stuff that's growing up over here. Again, I can bring some gouache into this and make it look even more realistic. Some more browns in here. I'm not going to worry about like filling the belly of this brush right now. I'm just using it for the rigor part of it. You saw how much water I just put on that? Look at this, like still, the area is still a little wet, but I can just get lines in here I just love this brush. All right, I need to let that dry. So we're gonna put some grasses in here too. That's it. Grasses will pop up and that'll be that. Ooh, that's a lot of paint on that brush. There's some sticks on the ground. I wasn't getting the dark that I wanted here. It's just too wet. It's fine. It needs to dry anyway. All right, let's grab the gouache. And with the gouache, I will do my grasses and we're going to do these evergreens. And I think she's done. I have the original 22 colors that Daniel Smith put out. I didn't buy any more when they released more. I have not gotten any others yet. So yeah, these are my colors that I have and am working with. So the greens, I'm not crazy about the selection of greens that are in here. But we'll probably use this spring green and we'll mix up some stuff ourselves, especially with like the ultramarine colors that are similar to what we already have in our painting. Okay. So I'm just going to kind of set this off to the side. The greens I'm mostly going to be using, it'll be these two, that spring green and the cascade green. There we go. All right. And I'm just going to mix right here on this palette. So this spring green and the Dan Smith gouache, I love it. Like it definitely, you can dry it down and palette. I spritzed this before the stream with water and it came back just fine. I'm using Hansa Yellow Medium and just kind of putting these two together because that's going to be, I think, my, it's not quite there. I'm just looking at what's going to be my brightest greens on this. Taking a little bit of Cascade Green just to tone it down just a little bit. All right, that's fine. Some more of the Cascade Green. That needs to get neutralized a little bit. It's a little too green. Going to take some Pyrrole Red. There we go. Touch more. We're looking for my darkest, right? My darkest greens. And I'm going to just kind of tap some of those in here. Up in here. I'm just dabbing. I will end up shaping and defining my tree a little bit more when I add the lighter colors. So again, Cascade Green, mix up more of that now that I know I like it. A little bit of the Pyrrole Red. I'm just kind of observing like other colors that I have in my painting already. I want my green to look similar. And that's leaning brown. There we go. Just sort of working my way up. Certainly need that to be darker. I just took a little bit of burnt sienna, which I've already used in the painting. And I'm going to use that as I lay in quickly. And again, my tree does not have to look exactly the same as that other tree. I'm trying to pay attention that I leave the parts showing on my stone wall that should be. These are just little baby little saplings. So again, that's that Cascade Green. I'm going to try just the burnt sienna this time. Of course, I went way too heavy on my burnt sienna. Kind of go back and forth, back and forth. I'm just picking up a little Hansa Yellow Deep just to warm it up. Because the greenery comes all the way down, right? Like there is green growing all the way down here. I just want to kind of tap in that there are evergreens growing. We're going to see through some of it. I'm going to put highlights on some of these. I'm just marking like where they're going to be. I want to see some of that dark come through. I just want to imply. Oh, thanks for joining, Crafty Cat. I hope we see you again. We are usually live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Almost done. These evergreens will really pop when we put the highlight on top of this. Remember, this one wasn't really showing. This is one that I said, hey, here lives a tree. I probably could have been using my size 4 round, but you know, my 6 is what was in my hand, so 6 is what we get. Do you guys do that? I often, whatever brush I'm holding, I'm like, I'll just keep painting along, painting along. Right now, that's a path back there, you see? Pop a little bit of this. Just back in here in a few spots. Just kind of have that color also showing up in other places. Good enough. I don't want too much detail back there anyway. I can put some of it back in here where it's a little light. And darken some of that up. All right, I need a lighter value. Again, this fancy yellow deep. We're just gonna see. I'm gonna see what happens here. I'm gonna start up near the top with some. Yeah, I want it to be a little bit more yellowed out. This is fancy yellow medium. Do you know when pine, like the brand new growth on the evergreens, they're like, it's so bright. Remember, this is spring. And even this, I don't think is quite yellow enough. I'm being very careful not to cover all of my dark. So I'm gonna dabble in some light. There we go. It really does make a difference once you start bringing those lights back in. Drying on my palette. Trying to make sure that I'm still seeing some of the trunk of my tree here and there. And even especially these little saplings, they definitely have some lights that need to be brought in. And if you notice, it actually almost dries. It dries darker. The gouache dries a little darker, whereas most watercolor dries lighter. Now we've got our foliage hanging over our riverbank here. And I think I want one more round with even more yellow to really pick up our highlights. So I am grabbing the Hansa Yellow Light and going right in there. Now let's see how much brighter. And now I'm not going to do everywhere. I just want to pop on some highlights here and there in our trees, especially up here. Right? This is like the ends, the tips of the branches where all that new growth is gonna sprout from. And I will bring this a little closer so you can see in just a moment. Maybe a close-up view. And here I'm actually just dotting in. Just kind of like dotting and dabbing with the very tip of my brush. Bring that so you can see a little bit closer. Look at the texture that we end up getting on our evergreen trees. I love it. Look at that water. I can't wait to take the masking off. Let me just dab some more in here. Again, I'm just randomly where I had my branches, where I had that mid green value, dappling some of that in because this year's growth is going to come out first very, very yellow green. Thank you, Other Tara. I'm really liking the way that this part of the banking has turned out. I am going to bring some of this gouache color, of course, into this side. Right, because we want it to be cohesive. And it makes sense for what's closest to us to have these warmer values versus our distant. Okay. Let's bring a little bit of this up here. Let's bring some of these same greens over into this space. I probably should have started with my darker one again. I'm not going to go too far to the right. It starts to get darker that way. And it's definitely darker down below. In fact, we need to darken that space up a little bit. Let's see it darker. Taking my burnt umber, which is a really light burnt umber, and I'm actually going to mix it with some lamp black here. And I'm going to take that and bring it over here with this green. put some of that in. I don't want to lose all the light in my little banking here. Just using some of what's on my brush to also bring in like some more shadows. Just a bunch of different values. This is all dead leaves and pine needles, and we're going to take our nice green that we had here. We're going to use that and bring some grass. Fresh, brand new grass that's starting to grow. We're just going to flick up little bits here and there. Oh, was just starting to come through. And that's pretty thin, so I don't know how well that's going to translate over. When it dries, it's not going to be as opaque. I love the Daniel Smith gouache. You can get like some transparent layers, and then you can get quite opaque as well. There we go. So now that's kind of looks a little bit more like the grass is just starting. It's covered with pine needles. We didn't do a lot of the, sticks and such on the ground, which is fine. I want just a little bit more though. Feel like we're lacking right here. We're almost done. Bring some of that warm yellow into that. There we go. Just felt like we could use some darker value in some of the foliage here. And I'm not too worried about this being like in focus and knowing exactly what this is. Right? Because our focal point is just beyond this. That's a bit better. Just mixing up a thicker grass. That was Handsy Hole Medium. Mixed in with that spring green. See if that makes a difference. There we go. Definitely showing up a bit better. Just going to bring a little bit of this dark, which actually has had some of that green mix into it from over here. Just so that we don't have all one value. All right, so I'm not sure what we're going to be painting next week. Again, in 2 weeks, I do have that collaboration coming. It will just be a regular video, not a live stream, um, with the Frugal Crafter and Caution Artist at Play and Karen Clark Creations. So that's coming. I'm looking forward to that. Good enough. I just feel like it's so easy to overdo it, and I definitely don't want to do that. Right? I don't want to detract from the rest of it. I meant to also catch these areas. So yeah, that is going to be a week from Sunday. So it'll be Father's Day Sunday. And then, as I was saying in the beginning, I'm going to start taking some of this masking off. See, that's almost looking, it's almost looking too bright. I might need to subdue that just slightly. Although we did paint it exactly the color of our sky, it's just really, really bright right now. Uh, Cadmium Red Frail Kitten, the collaboration is for the Holbein granulating watercolor, the sets. We have each done a set, so that collaboration is going to be each of us using one of those sets and painting with it. This, I think, near the edge is a little, I went a little too close to the edge. It should have been brought over here more, and I'm going to tone these down just slightly, and I think we will be able to call that finished. Let me get the gouache out of here because I am done with that. Okay. So yeah, that's what that collaboration is. This is what I used. Burnt sienna, a little bit of ultramarine blue, right, for our river, the edge. What would be sand? Oh, will it be premiered to answer questions? I see what you're saying. I'm sorry. No, I haven't talked to the girls about that. I think it's just going to be, they're just going to be released as like a video on demand on Father's Day, and all of ours will be released. I believe it's going to be 11 o'clock Eastern time. I think that's what they said. Don't quote me on that, but I think that was the time. All right, let's get this a little bit more right? So we're gonna fill this in a little bit. Then I'm actually going to take my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. I'm going to put a little bit of that on my palette because I want to bring back some. I want to bring it over a little bit further. So I'm going to put that on my palette here. I almost put that right back into my bottle. It would have been contaminated. Okay, and I'm going to bring into that some of that cobalt blue and the ultramarine blue that was my sky color. We had a little bit of the cobalt blue and a touch of the ultramarine. Right, there we go. So this is now the bleed proof white that has been tinted. And we are going to bring this over just a little bit further. Just gonna pop a few highlights on that rock there. Missed a little piece of masking fluid. The areas where my masking, where it's much lighter in here, I'm not worried about that. I'm about to cover that up and bring this color over there. I could have just done it like did not mask it and brought this in at the end. It would have worked just fine too. So if you didn't have masking fluid and you were trying to paint this, you wouldn't have to worry about it. You can just bring it in at the end. I also could have used just white gouache instead of the Dr. P.H. Martin's. That would have been perfectly acceptable. And I still would have tinted it with the same color I used in my sky. Not worried if I go outside the lines a little bit. It's fine. You know, the lines that were from my masking. Not worried about that. I'm just going to turn this. It's going to be easier. I'm going to be able to paint it faster. I'm also not worried if I get a little bit of the white still show through. It's just going to look like a brighter sparkle in that spot. Now, where my lines are that I tried to like cover them up, can always come back through, and I will show you before I'm finished because I don't like the way it looks like the continuation of these lines. We're going to do something to that that will fix it. because in the original, there's actually like you can see little tiny pebbles along this side. So yeah, if I had it to do all over again, I would probably, when I put the sky color down here, would just make it a little darker. But there is our reflection. Right, the ripples that are catching the sky. Bring some of these over a little bit more. I'm going to clean this palette. It's got gouache on it now. It's got Dr. Page Martin's on it now. Just touching a few of these areas again to kind of brighten them up even more. Thank you, Tara. This is one of my favorite spots to visit in Acadia National Park. Jordan Pond. It's beautiful. Just putting a few more ripples on the water, right? It doesn't all have to be big spots, just to help convey this water's moving. Get some in over here as well. Okay, so for this area here, I'm going to come back to this really. Remember, we did the sepia with ultramarine, right? It is definitely one of my favorite places to sit and relax, right along the bank. When I'm there, I could just sit there and paint on location. It was raining the day we went, so I just took a bunch of pictures and was like, I am painting this in the studio. Okay, so here we're going to come back in and we're just going to take some of these and we're going to turn it into, right? We're going to turn these into little pebbles. And then it's not going to look like we undid the original markings. And yeah, it might be a little darker along this bank than in my picture because this is a little more, it's like light and sandy. I could have come back through and adjusted it maybe with some gouache, but I don't think that would have been, I don't think that would have been necessary. Now let's take some of our buff titanium. Let's just see. Mm-mm. All right, we can do that. We want to lighten some of that up. I kind of liked it better when it looked like there were little rocks in there. Just lift it back. There we go. I think that, my friends, is where I'm going to call it. Just wanted this to kind of continue through. Wasn't seeing so much. And there it is. Thank you so much for joining me today. Those of you who are still here watching, I greatly appreciate you hanging out. Hope you guys have enjoyed this one. We can, I mean, we would be able to just like fuss with it for a long while, but you really don't need to. Just bringing in a little bit more bright color here. Some of this that was still, right, still a bit dark when it, because it wasn't masked out to start with. So sometimes that takes a couple applications. There we go. All right. Did I achieve the rocks underwater? I hope so. I think my stump could still be a little bit like glazed a little darker. She's a little bright. I had a great time hanging out with all of you today. I'm not sure what we're doing next week. I'm just going to glaze a little bit more color over top of this. I just think she's really light. And it was kind of standing out more so than I want it to. Like there are some areas that were lighter, but not too much. That's good enough. Okay. I'm just I'm gonna sign her over here. So you see, we took out so much that we didn't have to worry about. So I hope that really helped if you're considering painting a scene, right? Look at all this extra stuff that's not needed. Obviously, I removed the people that were on the bridge. Um, my rocks are slightly different, and that's okay. They don't have to be perfect, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. Close is good enough. Photo similar, not photorealistic. Hey there, Lindsay. There we go. Look at that. I'm loving the reflections in the sky. I'm loving the rocks through the water. So don't be intimidated. Whether you are on location or working from a reference photo, just pick the parts that are the most significant to you that stand out and just start blocking in and take it one piece at a time. You can layer up. Don't be afraid, like I did, to come back and add some gouache to be able to get those layers and continue adding things in as you go. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I am not sure what we are doing next week yet, but I will see you at Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. I hope you'll come back and join me. Until next time, my friends, keep painting, and I will see you in a video real soon. Bye, guys.